Hey guys, it's Amy, and we are talking about our writing process today. I'm driving right now, but I promise I'm watching the road. We have girls' night, so just kind of going out to hang out with my friends, relax a little bit because my writing process is always kind of crazy and stressful. I'm kind of neurotic when I write, so I spend a lot of time like just thinking about my characters and getting in their heads, letting them get into mine. So basically what I usually do is I get up in the morning, pour myself some coffee. I usually spend a couple of hours just kind of like letting the day settle in, returning emails and kind of getting in the frame of mind for everything. And then I sit down and I will go back through the chapter that I wrote the day before. And then once I do that, because that's like a little bit more tedious and like, line by line, and I'm shaping each line as I go. And then I'll write another chapter that afternoon, typically. Unless it's a super long chapter, then it'll take me several days or whatever. So it kind of just depends on what mood I'm in. But I'm kind of a slow writer. It's a little frustrating sometimes, and it's something that I tried to change about myself, but I realized that I'm not happy with my work when I rush it. So I just kind of am content with knowing that it's going to take me a little bit to get the words down, and I tweak a lot. I think about every sentence and like, what would the character say here, kind of thing. And I just don't really rush it. So I usually end up taking about 4 months to write a book, and I just keep going back through and changing it until I feel that it is exactly how that I want it. So that's kind of me.
I'm Alessandra Torre, and my writing process is what most people would probably call disorganized. I write in a character-based style, so I have my characters in mind, and when I sit down to write a book, I might have a vague idea what happens to them. In some books, I have a pretty good idea of what happens to them, but for the most part, my books don't typically end in the fashion that I expect them to. That is not the right way to write a book. The correct way to write a book is via outlines. And recently I read this book, Outlining Your Novel, Map Your Way to Success. It's an awesome resource if anyone's interested in learning how to outline. It absolutely convinced me that I need to use outlines in my books. But I'm writing my current book right now, The Ghost Writer, and I tried to write with an outline and just totally fell apart creatively. So for me, I just sit down with my characters in mind, and sometimes I start with a climatic scene. If I really have a picture in my mind of how I want a scene later in the book to go, I go ahead and write that first while it's fresh in my mind. Other times, I literally just start with page 1, chapter 1, and I start writing. And the books typically don't end up how I expected them to be at all. By the time I hit the end, I write pretty much straight through. Sometimes I'll jump around and write some scenes closer to the end, but typically I just start from page 1 and write till I hit the end. And then the rewrite process is crazy. So a lot of times my first draft will look absolutely nothing like the final book. So if you ever talk to my editors, they'll tell you that. I am a rewrite freak, but that's my writing process.
My writing process is pretty simple. I usually write in a journal for a while. I've had journals for 15 years that I've been writing in, and the stories are still not published. So you can just imagine how many journals I've accumulated over the years. Sometimes I go back to those and I pick it up and I'm like, yeah, why didn't I finish this story? And I start telling, and then I start typing it. And when I start typing it, that's when I say, okay, I'm writing a book. Because my journals to me are I just write things, dialogue, scenes, characters' names, what they wear, what they like to eat, what they like to listen to, where they live, things like that, who their friends are. But it's not 100% I'm gonna tell the story until I start typing it in the computer. And even then, I've had stories that I've typed more than halfway and then I've completely set aside because I just don't have like a grasp for it even at that point, and if that's the case, I usually don't even finish it. I've had a couple like that. I know a couple of, Prisoner is like that. I have like 60,000 words written, and I don't love it, so I won't publish it. Um, Aside from that, when I start typing it, that's usually my story. Like, I usually know for a fact I'm gonna publish it. Not for a fact, but in my mind, I know. And then I get to like 50,000 words or halfway through the book, and I'm like, I don't like it. And I start over. I usually start over about 3 times while I'm writing. And the second and third time, I usually copy paste from the old file into the new one. And I keep a lot of elements and a lot of scenes that I've already written. But if I don't love everything about it, I will start over. And I will do that until I'm happy with it. And it takes a while. So yeah, my writing process is pretty crazy. I don't plot. I usually know the plot and I know what the characters are like enough that I can start the book and be like, okay, I'm okay with it. But I don't sit down and say chapter 1, chapter 2, chapter 3, this is what's going to happen, this is what's going to happen. I learned how to do that in school and I've never gotten the hang of it for some reason. I think because I'm very bad at following directions and following rules, and I feel like that's following directions, and I just kind of rebel against myself. So yeah, that's basically my writing process. It's a little bit crazy, I guess, to some people, but it works for me.
Hey, it's Corinne Michaels, and I'm going to talk about my writing style, which is a little bit different than most of my friends that I know. I typically write during the day and very early in the morning. I cannot write at night for some reason. I don't know if I'm just emotionally exhausted from being a mom and a wife and stuff. I get up around 5 to 5:30 in the morning, and I write for about 2 hours, and then I get on social media, and then I come back again after I've eaten and after I've done some things around the house. Then I typically go back out. I write in short bursts, and I also don't follow an outline. I'm what I kind of call a planter. I know exactly where things are going to happen. I just don't know exactly how I'm going to get there. And sometimes they happen a little bit differently, and sometimes it's not exactly what I thought, but that's kind of how I go. And and what I'm most comfortable with. I have tried to outline 2 of my books, and it was a joke. You would ask me if I showed you them when I was going to write those books, because it's definitely not how it happened.